Hello and welcome to another edition of The Week, the show where we sit down to digest and discuss the big talking points across our region over the past 7 days. Over the next hour, I'll be poring over the newspaper headlines with a helping hand from 3 studio guests, and we'll be looking at the stories you've been talking about, brought to you by the Big Centre TV news team. There really is something for everyone tonight. We've got bin collections, 5p plastic bags, and the moment one member of staff at a Birmingham pub came up with a rather extreme way of silencing some rowdy football fans. We'll also be taking a look at the world of business, including skills and apprenticeship issues, and the new quarterly economic survey from the Black Country Chamber, which makes interesting reading. So, plenty to get through. Now, helping me to flick through the local newspapers this week is John Simcock, an experienced West Midlands journalist who wears many hats, one of which is helping to train the next generation of reporters at Wolverhamptons College. Mr Simcock, good evening.
Hello, Carl.
Thank you for joining us.
It's lovely to be here.
No shortage of talking points this week, and some of them are quite light-hearted, aren't they?
There is no shortage of talking points, Carl. There never is with the news, as you know from your experience. But lots of good stuff lots of good stuff this week.
The one that I think we ought to start with, because it's the one that every media organisation, print, radio and television, have all had a go at right from the start of the week, is this idea that the big talking point this week has been the fact that now in England, the same as in other parts of the country, you've now got to pay 5p if you want to use plastic bag to carry your shopping away from the bigger supermarkets. They've done it in Wales, done it in Scotland. So we sort of expected that, because we're all one big nation, aren't we now? So we don't have any devolution.
Absolutely. We should all be treated the same. But there's something slightly odd about the way it's been introduced in England as opposed to Wales and Scotland and the rest of the United Kingdom, because it doesn't apply across the board. You've got some shops where you get a plastic bag for free, but in some other shops, you face a 5p charge. I think apparently, if the retailer employs more than 250 people, you cop for the 5p. If they don't, you're on your way. And also, interestingly, in England, paper bags are exempt. So, don't quite know what the thinking was in Downing Street when they sat down and decided paper bags shouldn't be part of the policy.
You think that's like the old-fashioned, classic open all hours corner shop that still sells its sweets in little quarters and things like that?
I think it must be. I think maybe Mr Cameron or Mr Osborne, maybe their shopping comes in paper bags and there might be just some...
They still have their bonbons delivered.
They do.
We headed out onto the streets to find out what shoppers made of it all.
I think it's fine because Wales, Scotland, Ireland already do it. It doesn't really affect anyone there. It's better for the environment because it'll discourage this. We've got quite a throwaway society, so it'll encourage that. And my sister informed me this morning that it's not affecting small businesses, so hopefully it'll help them out a bit, especially in this region. So it's where we need it.
What do you think about having to pay the excess charge of 5p to pay for your carrier bags when going into shops?
I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it's a very good idea. I think hopefully it'll cut back on all the waste that we see in the streets, on the beaches, for example, and hopefully it'll make people think a little bit better about recycling.
Doesn't really bother me really, as I've said, there's another store, I won't name it, puts up a sign, says there's no such thing as a free carrier bag. So I think we've been paying for them all along, just bringing in other charges. I think that's the only difference it'll be.
So what do you think of the recent decision of having to be charged an extra 5p when buying your bags in stores?
Well, I think it's a good idea really, because it saves people buying carrier bags, and when they chuck carrier bags out, and it's bad for the environment and everything. So I think it's a good thing. It'll help people to not purchase them as much, you know what I mean.
So I see you have a shopping bag. Was you charged for that one?
I was just charged for this. I have to pay 5p for it, so yeah.
It doesn't mean anything to me because we've been paying for them for the last 2 years in North Wales.
And how's that been for you? Have you been saving them or?
Well, it's just become a way of life. You buy your bag for life and just try and remember to use it, basically. It'd be nice if they could introduce more paper bags.
I think it's a really good thing. I think other countries have been doing it for a while. Scotland does it, Wales does it. We get very complacent with all these plastic bags. We don't really need them. It's not really difficult to carry a plastic bag in your bag. I've got a couple in mine. I think it's a good thing.
Now, I think I'm probably one of the classics here that's been snared by this, deliberately so, because a couple of times already this week I've walked into a shop thinking I've got carry bags in the boot of my car and I've forgotten to take them in. and they say, that'll be 5p, sir, and you think, oh,
Yeah.
you're only going to do that so many times before the message gets through.
It will sink in, Carl. I mean, I live pretty close to the Welsh border for my sins, and as the lady in the clip was saying, in Wales it's been policy for some years, and you just get used to it. And you have in the boot of your car a couple of bags for life, and you know whenever you go shopping that you'll need them. So it just becomes a force of habit. Look, globally, I think in this country last year we used 7.6 billion plastic bags. 7.6 billion. 140 for every man, jack and child in the country. We can't carry on going on like that, you know, for the environment. There is, in the South Atlantic, in the South Pacific rather, there's an area of sea polluted the size, well, estimates vary, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch it's called. Estimates vary. Some people say it's the size of Texas. Some estimates say twice the size of the United States. You know, and that's us over the last 50, 60, 70 years. You know what it's like when you come back from the supermarket with your weekly shop, you know, you fill a wheelie bin full of plastic packaging of one sort or another. As you unpack your stuff, you're chucking it out. It's nonsense, isn't it?
Interesting dilemma I read, I think one of the papers has picked up on. Increasing number of people are now having their shopping delivered. They order it online, and then the van turns up outside and of course delivers your shopping. Some of them, the stores, are not actually giving people an option to not have their shopping delivered to them in plastic bags, and are forcing them to pay the 5p cost. So that's maybe one area where they haven't maybe sorted out the small print. Isn't it?
Exactly, and I don't know whether you've done the home delivery service, but when I do it, the shopping turns up and there's 6 things in every bag, you know, and you think, well, hold on, you've used 10 bags here and you could have got all my shopping in 2. So, I mean, if that is the case, there's a loophole that definitely needs looking at.
Absolutely. Well, very timely things. One town in the Black Country has taken the initiative and has launched a new reusable carrier which is being handed out free to shoppers. It's a perfect time to get some PR for this, of course. So Emma Wootton went to Dudley to find out more.
Well, the government has come up with the initiative of charging 5p per bag, and the councils took it upon itself to introduce bags to protect the environment as well as saving money for the residents of Dudley.
What will be the benefits of this scheme, and who specifically will benefit from this scheme?
Well, environmentally, I think all of us will benefit from the scheme. And in 2013, 7.6 million bags were issued to the shoppers, which equates to over 60 tonnes of plastic. It damages the environment and of course takes a long time to decay.
What will the impact be on Dudley?
Well, impact is huge. It promotes Dudley, and if you see the bag, it's got a Dudley stable. We're hoping that people will use it with pride and also save money environmentally. For all of us, it's a great benefit, and I think we as individuals all over the world need to play our part in order to protect the environment in which we all live in. I think it will drive people to Dudley. It promotes Dudley, and we are doing the best we can in order to support people save money. All these 5p per bag soon adds up, especially when you're doing large amount of shopping and you have children. And then, you know, I think that benefit is clear, and people should make full use of the bags whilst the stock is available.
Do you imagine that this scheme will be successful? Has it been successful so far?
Well, it's a new introduction. We are getting a lot of inquiries about the bags. They are available from our Council House, Council Plus, and a few other sites throughout the Dudley, and then I think it's going to be successful. It's going to save money, and people should use it with pride.
So there we go. That Dudley initiative, it's a bag for life, and it's a very good way of promoting the town, and it's hitting something just at the right time, isn't it? Because we get so irate about refuse and rubbish and issues like that, don't we? This story I pulled out of the Sutton Coldfield Observer this week. Homeowners have been left snowed under by a mountain of rubbish as new recycling bins are being left weeks without collection. It's affecting bins in a whole host of different streets, and the claim is they've not been emptied for 6 weeks despite regular pleas from residents to sort out the mess. The council say we're on it, we're aware of it.
Yeah, but listen, you miss a week with a bin collection, and it's a crisis. It's an absolute crisis. You miss 6 or 7 weeks, and it's turning into a really, and particularly in the nice weather we've had, the things start to smell, and it's just terrible.
And the thing is, when we hand over our council tax each month, it pays for a myriad things, but not many of them are quite as obvious as the council bin lorry coming down the road.
It is absolutely the public face. I mean, you say the council tax pays for a myriad of things, but it seems to be paying for less and less the longer we go on. One of the things it does pay for is a bin collection, but it's gone from weekly in most places to being now a fortnightly one. You end up doing the council's job by sorting all the waste into different recycling tubs, and then you have to put it out on the right day. If they don't come and take it, you're feeling, where's the value for money here with the council tax?
Yeah, absolutely, because as you say, they've made us do a lot of that work for them.
They have.
Already. But again, I remember when it was first introduced, because I'm just a lazy so-and-so that just wants to be able to throw things in the nearest receptacle, which is terribly unecologically friendly. But you think, oh, this is going to be a nightmare. But you soon get used to it. And the same happens with carrier bags. You could see from that Vox Pop, as they said there, people just become used to it. And I'll have bags in the boot of my car, and I'll just have to remember to take them.
And I think the initiative in Dudley, hats off to the people who've dreamt that up, because that is absolutely top drawer. The more we can do to use less, to recycle more, that has to be a good thing for the future.
Completely. Now, a less good thing for the future, which is appalling English, is this story which most of the media have carried this week. Bad news at the Goodyear plant in Wolverhampton. I mean, the Birmingham Post have got this story here saying Goodyear have confirmed they're closing the plant, and they announced back in June, of course, that they were consulting on the possible closure, putting over 300 jobs at risk. But while there's a consultation going on, you always think, don't you, that there might still be an olive branch, a chance.
But yeah, I mean, it's not a huge surprise, is it? But it's still a hammer blow for the town and for the region. For 90 odd years, Goodyear has been part and parcel of the fabric of Wolverhampton. Generations of families will have worked there. It will have sustained generations of families, and to take that out, even the slightly reduced size of the factory compared to in its pomp, but to take that out is a real hammer blow.
Well, I mean, I know being a Wolverhampton boy, it's one of those. It's an iconic employer for the city, and it's probably that they weren't the power in the city that they used to be. Part of their land is now occupied by everything from housing to discount supermarkets. But it's the message that it gives across, isn't it, to an area, in the same way that Jaguar Land Rover comes in and suddenly we're a powerhouse for automotive manufacturing. Yeah. When a name like Goodyear decides it's going, as well as the personal side of it and people losing their jobs in the run up to Christmas this year, quite possibly. It's the message it gives maybe to other employers about whether this is a good area to move into, isn't it?
And the big challenge for the region is the shift away from the traditional, the heritage businesses, the heavy manufacturing on which the Black Country was built. As that diminishes and decreases in scale, the big challenge is, what do we replace it with? That's the great thing about Jaguar and I-54 is actually the authorities have done something, have brought investment into the region, which is state-of-the-art and cutting edge. There's got to be more of that and less reliance on these older, more established industries, because the world is changing.
Yeah. And this last one then, just to take us into the break, is sort of linked because of all the infrastructure work. And you'd have driven down the M54 when JLR was being put in, and the disruption and the inconvenience. Yeah. We've now got, the Walsall Advertiser tells us, work is this week started on rebuilding a railway bridge in Walsall town centre as part of this big plan to electrify about 12 or 15 miles of railway between Walsall and Rugeley Trent Valley. And they're warning us that this bridge is over 100 years old, needs to be rebuilt very carefully. There's going to be disruption. And the same people who've been calling for the electrification of this route will be the same people that are groaning about all the snarl.
Yeah, if you're running Marks and Sparks and you're told, I think they've been told that you can only get into it one way now through the Sadler Centre, you're going to be almighty cheesed off for the duration of the works. But look at the longer term, look at the bigger picture. I spend a fair bit of time in London where the transport system just keeps that huge city moving. Londoners complain about it, they moan like nobody's business, but actually it's a really efficient system. We're lagging behind here. We've lagged behind because of a lack of investment over the last 30, 40 years. And it's time that we caught up. And electrification of a railway, it's not new technology, is it? This isn't something that's really
bring you up to the modern systems, does it?
But it's absolutely essential. If this area, you look at what's happened to Goodyear, well, we do look old-fashioned, we do look out of date when you're chugging around in old diesel locos.
Absolutely. Well, we'll have more news and views and look at the local newspapers after the break, including my favourite news story of the week. Welcome back to The Week, the show which takes a look at some of the big talking points from the last 7 days with a helping hand from our guests in the studio. And helping me to sift through this week's headlines is local journalist and media lecturer John Simcock. Now, are you a culture vulture? Do you consider yourself the sort of man? I look at you and you see, intelligently dressed, refined.
Yeah, go on, carry on.
That's
carry
all.
On. Oh, right, okay. Not for me to say, Carl, not for me to say. I occasionally dabble.
Well, that was just a link, you see, because what I need to tell you is that the Royal Society of Arts has upset the people of Walsall this week by pinpointing the town as one of the least culturally interesting places in the land. It's named 289th in a list of just over 300 places. The question is that fair? Well, not in the view of most residents that we spoke to here.
I feel there's a good cross-cultural mix in Walsall. There's some absolutely beautiful buildings. It's a nice place to be. It's a nice traditional town.
I think that's a very good estimation of Walsall, because basically we have many cultures here with a diverse town. Surely there's somewhere in Walsall where people can show their particular art off, there's nowhere at the moment. There should be somewhere where they can show what art they can produce. At the moment, there's nothing. Walsall doesn't seem to bother about culture at all. I don't mean Walsall people, I mean Walsall Council. It seems very bottom of the list and when times are bad, and which they are for poor people in Walsall, just all over the country, art should be uplifting to them. When the divide of other things, being able to go out and enjoy themselves, or art should be available to them to enrich their lives.
So Walsall has been rated lowest across the West Midlands in terms of culture from the Royal Society of Arts. What do you make of this?
Well, that's absolutely stupid, because we got the world's greatest art gallery here, and I don't understand. That's unbelievable. I think as regards culture is concerned, we're a big mix of culture, and you've only got to step into the art gallery to find out. That's what I think.
I can believe it. The only thing that we get coming into Walsall is restaurants. More fears we've got another restaurant that's trying to open off the water, where they could have had like canoeing, anything, some water sports, get the kids involved. We lost the skate park that used to be that restaurant there. There's nothing here unless you want to eat.
I can't understand it really, because there's a lot of different cultures around here, and I can't understand why we've got that label actually. I just can't understand why we've been given that label.
Now, the thing with this is that any league table about anything is always controversial, isn't it? Whether it's school league tables, culture league tables,
And what you don't know is what they're comparing, and are they comparing like with like, and precisely what location they're defining as Walsall. Because, you don't have to go far in this area to find examples of culture. And also, what do you mean by culture? How are we defining it? If you live in London and you've got art galleries and big national exhibitions and theatres and cinemas and on your doorstep, you can claim to have a big cultural life. It's not going to be the same round here because of the scale of the place.
But the thing is as well, it's very subjective, isn't it? Put an art gallery in the middle of a town, that's not going to keep everyone happy. Sometimes it's about the people, it's about the atmosphere, it's about the camaraderie, isn't it?
Indeed. Dare I mention the place? I better not.
No.
We'll move on from
Not
that.
everything works.
But there's an example, isn't there? You know, where you try and drop a certain type of culture into an area, and it just doesn't gel, and it doesn't work out. So, you know, I think you have to be careful about these things, and labelling anywhere as the worst of something just in one particular little niche is got to be a detrimental thing.
Because equally, if a campaign was then launched in Walsall or in any of the towns that mentioned in the list to do something about this and work their way up the league table, and a £10 million pot of money is put there, there would then be a complete disagreement over what you spent it on.
And what to do with it. What to do with it. They could ask me, if they've got £10 million, ask me and I'll find a use for it. But you would just end up in an endless round of committee meetings. What are we going to do?
I think as long as culture's on the agenda, in some form, and people realise that every town's got to have an identity.
Absolutely.
You've got to find out what that identity is, and you maximise your strengths, don't you?
Couldn't agree more.
Now, we can't wait a minute longer without getting to what was my favourite story of the week.
Mine too.
And actually my favourite headline of the week. In the Birmingham Post, they went for
That's the one.
Barmaid 1, Stoke City 0.
Yeah.
Paint the picture of this one.
Quite honestly, they could have written the Stoke City 0 part of that almost at any time in any part of the season, couldn't they?
They've had better time.
But this is fabulous. This is a barmaid at the Wellington pub in the centre of Birmingham. She'd got a load of Stoke City fans in, and they were giving her a bit of jip. Rowdy chanting, singing, being a little bit abusive, and chanting. I think one particular chant about a certain Stoke City player, which wasn't particularly family friendly, should we say. She gave him a few warnings. Eventually, she'd had enough, and she turned the fire extinguisher on him and gave him a good hosing down, which I don't know whether I should say this, but in Stoke, you know, anything which washes a few people down in Stoke has got to be a good thing, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, certainly some of these particular football fans, they didn't appear to be the most refined characters.
I think that's fair.
They were playing to the crowd, and then, you know, if you bait people, you've got to expect sooner rather than later somebody's fuse goes, and if what do they say? If you give it out, you've got to be able to take it back, haven't you? But then, of course, because there's uproar now that this barmaid has got the fire extinguisher out, and there's all sorts of employment red tape and health and safety legislation and you know, the rights of the innocent
this is one of the most irritating things, and I speak as a lifelong football fan, but one of the most irritating things about football fans is their ability to take offence at the drop of a hat, despite often acting in a boorish, yobbish way. So the chairman, I think it was, or one of the people involved in the Stoke City Supporters Club, he was praising these fans for not retaliating against the barmaid.
Right then, John, thank you so much for that. Let's finish on a high, though, on a more optimistic football story, because we hear lots of complaints about the money being paid to our top football stars, claims that their celebrity lifestyles mean they're too detached from the fans. So I think it's great to see one of the region's big-name players going back to his Briley Hill roots to work with a group of school children. That's exactly what Wolves captain Danny Bath did when he dropped in at Old Park School, and the big centre cameras were waiting.
What started off as a normal Friday afternoon for these local school children at Old Park in Briley Hill quickly turned into a lesson to remember when Wolverhampton Wanderers captain Danny Bart turned up for show and tell, sports style.
Well, tell us about how it was having Danny Bart, captain of Wolverhampton Wanderers, in your school today.
It's been absolutely fantastic. It was really good of him to come along and see all the children at Old Park School. Old Park School's got children with severe learning difficulties, and we've had visitors down today to see Danny that go to matches every week to support him, so to see the smiles on their faces was absolutely fantastic.
And as well as going to matches, I believe they also have their own team and they play games themselves, right?
We do indeed. We are going in a couple of weeks to a tournament up at the Villa. We've been doing that for several years, so we attend every year, and they're looking forward to it. They've been practicing really hard on Friday lunchtimes.
Fantastic. And how important do you think it is to have local people like Danny get involved with causes to do with sport in the community?
It's absolutely brilliant. I mean, it's really important, especially in a special needs school, that activity is a priority and kept really high, to keep them active for all their health needs. So to have somebody come in high profile to raise the level and understanding is absolutely brilliant.
So what kind of other facilities do you have here in the school that help children with sports?
Okay, we've got our hydrotherapy pool, which is really important that we get them in as many times as possible for weight management and for health benefits for those pupils that spend a lot of time in their wheelchairs. We've got a soft play room, especially for the little ones, so they can go in there and have a good run around and get rid of some of their energy. We've got rebound therapy, a trampoline that we set up in the hall where we do rebound therapy sessions. And obviously lots of normal PE activities as well, getting them active and as involved as we can in the hall.
The Brierley Hill born and bred defender wasted no time in creating a team to rival that of his own championship side.
Right guys, we're going to have some penalties today. Make sure you hit the target and hopefully we win the game. It's a big game today, so make sure it's 3 points in the bag. Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah, it's been a brilliant experience. I've came down after training to visit the kids and we've had a nice afternoon out on the AstroTurf, practicing our football skills with the football team, and I think they've had a really good day.
And how important do you think sport is in education?
Yeah, I think you can see with those guys today how much fun they've had today, and I think it gives kids a nice break from the classroom and it gives them a chance to stay active and really enjoy the benefits of sport.
And what kind of skills do you think are involved in sport that are useful in everyday life?
I think it's a lot of team play. It teaches young kids how to be part of a team and that winning's important in life, and there's lots of different benefits such as communication, sort of passing on information while they're playing football or tennis, whatever they're doing. It's really good for the kids, and I think it really helps them to stay focused while they're in the classroom as well.
So you're a local lad, you're from Brierley Hill. How involved are you looking to get in your community within the sporting arena?
Yeah, it's things like today have really sort of opened my eyes into what can be done in the community and how much it means for sporting figures to come and spend a bit of time with the local kids. I think it's something hopefully I'll be spending more time doing, and whenever there's a possibility of getting down to a local school, popping down for the afternoon and saying hello.
Any top tips for some young lads watching this right now, if they want to make it, if they want to be the next Danny Bartz from Brierley Hill?
I think the main thing is just remain focused, and for most kids just make sure you've got your classroom experience behind you as well as the training on the pitch.
This is Natalie Cutler for the Midland at Old Park School in Brierley Hill.
Welcome back. Now, before I introduce this week's final two guests, let's offer you something for the weekend if you're on the lookout for leisure ideas. And this week's suggestion is the Birmingham Comedy Festival, which has been going strong all week at venues across the city, and it continues until October the 11th. Now, comics have come from all over the world to this, but one of the star performers is the West Midlands' very own Danny Clives.
So, obviously the Birmingham Comedy Festival happening from today. What's your involvement with it all?
Doing a show at Cherry Reds on Sunday. Me and two of my friends. We're going to do an hour of comedy, and then there should be a raffle at the end. I think it's going to be great.
And are you excited?
Yes, my mom's coming, so that's going to be great. Yeah, it should be very good. Written some new jokes.
And how have you been preparing your own jokes? How does it work?
Yeah, basically my act's about all the failures of my life, so I've written them all down, and I'm going to say them in a joke format.
Could you give us some examples?
I do a joke about being really weak, having no strength. And one day I couldn't open my car door because the wind was too strong, so I do a joke about that.
Cool.
So that's one of the
the jokes. Yeah. Is there any others that you want to share with us?
I don't want to give away all the jokes. I've only got like 4, so.
So you've really just got to wait and see.
I'll do a poem at the end. I'm going to do a poem about chocolate.
The poem about chocolate?
Yeah.
Oh, do you want to give us an insight into your poem about chocolate?
It's about sadness.
It's about sadness.
And chocolate.
And chocolate.
So it's quite uplifting.
Oh, wow.
The double.
And how long is that poem?
It's about 2 seconds.
Okay. And also, talking about the comedy festival itself, what do you think an event like this brings to the region? What can people, really look forward to?
It's really great. A lot of, I guess, laughter would be the main thing. There's lots of big comedians. Weird Al Yankovic is coming. That's going to be big. I know a lot of people deserves a good festival here, and it's getting better every year, so hopefully we'll have someone even bigger next year.
And is this your first time being involved with the festival, or have you been involved in other festivals?
I did the Breaking Talent Award last year, and that's on tonight. Is this going to go out tonight? So people should go to that. It's going to be very good at the Glee. I've been to Edinburgh, if that helps.
And why do you like comedy? Why have you chosen, to be a comedian?
Nothing's going well, so it's really funny. Everyone said I was funny, so I've just decided to just do that instead. Rather than taking my life seriously, I just thought I'd write some jokes.
And so far, the industry that you're in, do you enjoy it?
At the minute, yeah. People laugh. Some people have clapped as well. So it's going okay at the minute.
Too late for that show at the Glee, which you mentioned there. But if you do like Danny's deadpan style, where there's still tickets available for the final few gigs at Birmingham Comedy Festival, and you'll find all the details on the festival website. Now then, my final two guests this week both have an interest in business. Banu Deer is Head of Policy at the Black Country Chamber, and Nick Williams is Director of an organisation called Skillwise. Gentlemen, good evening, welcome. Now, you'd not met before, had you? But I've sort of played matchmaker a little bit, and
indeed,
found that
yes,
you've got some common ground, really, haven't you? Just start with Skillwise then. Tell us the concept and what that's all about.
So we've been going now about 10 years. So we've been an apprenticeship provider for coming up to 10 years now. And the three things we focus on are youth unemployment. We're all about trying to get youngsters into work and trying to get children active in schools. And our big one is helping small to medium-sized businesses to grow by investing in these young talents and trying to get them in to help those businesses grow.
What sort of links do you think exist in the region between those businesses and those potentially talented people?
I think there's a barrier, to be honest. From our point of view, we're trying to match these businesses up. And, there are over 5 million small, medium-sized businesses in the UK. And there are a lot of these businesses working, potentially the business owners are working 18, 19-hour days, and they are desperate to grow. But I think they just don't have those links at the moment. When we launched this particular program, we were determined to go out and set up 250 learners into work. And the program sold out in 12 days. We had 287 businesses sign up who were just desperate to get help to grow their businesses. So it is a big barrier. I think that, it's all about people coming together with the right mentalities that want to help these youngsters, but can identify these businesses as well that need that help and support.
Because they're there, aren't they?
And
the will and the momentum from a government down point of view is all towards promoting apprenticeships and how they can feed back into the economy at the moment, aren't they?
Completely, they are. And I think, but the problem is, I think a lot of people have the stereotypical attitude about what apprenticeships are like, and I think one of the conversations we've just been having here is that it's important that we match the needs of the businesses. We don't just say, let's just stick to the normal apprenticeships that are out there. What we've tried to do is we've challenged the status quo around the way apprenticeships get delivered. So what we've done here is we've gone out, identified what the businesses need, first of all. And what we found with a lot of these small businesses, they need people to focus on things like marketing, social media, and a small bit of business admin, but they need people to help them grow their businesses. And of course these youngsters have all these skill sets, so it's just a case of matching them together and helping those businesses grow and invest in this young amazing talent that we have around the area.
We'll talk some more specifically about the entrepreneurs circle that you're involved in and exactly how that works, but Banu, I could see you nodding there. I mean, apprenticeships are pretty high up on the agenda at Black Country Chamber, aren't they, really?
Yeah, I mean, every business I talk to tells us about two problems they have. One is transport, the other one is skills. The issue is that they can't find the right kind of apprentices. So, I mean, what I was talking to Nick about before was that what businesses need are talented, enthusiastic young people. And his organisation is building that enthusiasm. That's what businesses need. They need people who can start straight away. If you're a tiny little organisation, you can't afford months or weeks whether to induct someone into your organisation. You're going to lose money. So there's a massive need, and I think what I've heard from Nick, which I think sets him apart, is he understands there is a process by which you help young people understand what the world of work is actually really like. So that is a blessing to business, and we will be promoting his organisation, and we will be talking to particularly the smaller sized businesses, because as I say, they are too busy doing the work to market. So, you know, if they can get someone to look after that aspect, they're going to grow. And what we're about is getting businesses to grow.
And like you say, you know, sometimes businesses are too busy concentrating on the core part of what they do to realise actually, you know, what's maybe happening in the economy out there. And things are changing, aren't they?
Yeah, you know, it's a good. I've got to say this is good for the Black Country. Black Country is doing pretty damn good in terms of compared to other parts of the country. There are some aspects that we are getting worried about. Exports being one of them, and there's a lot of manufacturing sector businesses that are getting put off by what's happening in the rest of the world, what's happening in China and Europe. The strong pound sounds good, but if you're selling in euros, it means that basically China can undercut your prices by about 25%. So, you know, Black Country businesses tend to be pessimistic. They are still reeling from the last recession. They don't want to go through that again, but we are noticing that there's a slight downward trend in confidence. But UK sales are up. Sales are up. We are outperforming the West Midlands still. Okay, so there's some businesses nationally that do better than us. I've got to say it's good. 80% of all businesses are reporting that their sales are either going up or remaining constant. That's not bad.
No,
that's not bad at all.
Because we should say, I mean, that Black Country Chamber's been in the news this week because you've released the headline findings of your latest quarterly economic survey, haven't you? Just explain how that's carried out and what's that based on?
Well, what we do is we open a survey which you can either fill in on paper or online for about a 3-month period. So every quarter we're trying to assess what's going on. We've got standard questions that have been going back for years and years, so we can compare the historical data. So in the Black Country, we probably maybe get 300, 400 businesses, about 30% of our membership. For other parts of the country, they're struggling to get anywhere near that. We're really doing well in terms of responses. But overall, nationally, we get about 7,500 responses. Now, the Bank of England look at our survey because that helps them understand what the underlying trends are for the country. We like to look at it and think, okay, what is it that we need to do as a chamber to help businesses perform better?
Do you ask the exact same questions each quarter so you can do direct comparison?
We do have some flexible questions that we can put in the end, but we ask exactly the same questions all the time so that we can get those real strong trends over a number of years and working, okay, where are we compared to, say, 2011? And are things actually getting better or are things getting worse?
And as you said, you know, I noticed one of the things I picked out is the fact that 1 in 3 companies are talking about their sales being markedly up at the moment, you know, not just slightly up.
That's it. This is the astonishing thing that we talk about a consumer-led boom. Our businesses are saying, right, our business is growing in the UK. Unfortunately, not saying that about exporting. So we've got to make that clear for all the reasons I said before. So if we were going to do anything, what we would do is target businesses who are maybe exhausting existing markets, because in South America, you know, Chile, for example, is a really good place to export for the kind of metals or oil and gas kind of businesses we've got here. So that's how we can actually help. So we will use this information and think, there's a problem here, this is how we're going to help.
And of course, the thing that maybe where you've got common ground with Nick is the skills issue, is the fact that you said right at the top of the interview here, there is definitely still a feeling that Black Country businesses realise who they want to recruit, but don't take it for granted that they'll be able to find them. Is that?
Well, I was talking to a business yesterday, and this is a leading edge business. They test products on aeroplanes and what have you under really intense conditions. She just told me, the managing director just told me that if I found another 10 people, she would double the size of her business, but she can't find them, so the business isn't growing. I'd say that every business I talk to has that problem, and a lot of businesses are reluctant to take on young apprentices. I think that Nick's scheme in terms of doing something collectively with them and getting them to understand what employers want is exactly what the employers need. And I reckon this is the beginning of a fantastic partnership here that we can go out and say to businesses, please take on that very small risk, because you'll have complete transformation in what you're doing. And who knows, maybe the next Microsoft is out there and all we need is some of Nick's young people.
Well, so I didn't mean to wave my pen aggressively like some Harry Potter lunatic. So just explain then, the Entrepreneurs Circle has been set up almost precisely really for this reason, hasn't it? What type of people in terms of their attitude, their experience and their age is it specifically aimed at?
Well, the Entrepreneur Circle is a system that, it's a business that's designed to help grow UK businesses. And it covers all, they do an amazing training program where there are over 100 different types of training courses. So whether that might be basic copywriting or different courses. And their whole mission is all about helping these small businesses grow. And one of the things we determined, from the analysis with these small businesses, they're all saying, I'm working, extremely long days, potentially 17, 18-hour, long days. And we did this analysis, and I actually asked them, well, what do you need? What kind of skill set do you need someone to come in and do? Well, I don't know how to do my marketing correctly, or I don't know how to engage on social media these days, because social media is, such a huge presence. So the big thing here is we said, okay, what skill set can we put together? We worked with the Entrepreneur Circle and developed a training program where we don't go down this traditional route of, one-day release from a college. That's a great model, but what we do is we actually take the learners, we match them to the business based on what the business is looking for. We then take the learners away for 2 weeks on a residential. So some of these learners have probably never been away from the West Midlands before.
Like a boot camp, is it?
Essentially, yeah. And it's 2 weeks where we bring them out of their shells. We give them all the skill set from the Entrepreneur Circle. We give them a huge amount of training. They have all this, the new friendships that they've developed. When they go back into those businesses, then they've now created a network that they can share off each other. Through their social media connections, and we're seeing outstanding results from how these businesses are growing, because they're saying, great, rather than me working in my business all the time, I can now work on my business and let you focus on developing that part of my business for me.
And that's the art, isn't it? When I know from feedback that we hear from local businesses that I've spoken to, the biggest challenge of a boss, whether a business is growing or contracting or diversifying, is actually not getting too bogged down in jobs that other people should be doing and taking a step back and managing, isn't it?
It's what's holding a lot of businesses back. The average size of a metals manufacturing business is 21 people. That's quite small. And if you are the owner manager, you're in there all the time trying to drive things forward. And we have, we're supplying components to Aston Martin and for jet fighters, we're JLR supplying them to everywhere. Bentley, for example. What we're trying to do is we actually got a training scheme to help leaders pull themselves back and look strategically and engage with all the other support services around, which may well be bringing on an apprentice. You've got to do that, otherwise your business is going to be highly reactive. And if somebody undercuts you, and let's say some parts of the world are able to undercut us completely, unless you're prepared for that, unless you're doing something different, then you're gonna lose out. So we're trying to instill that culture within Black Country businesses, relatively small Black Country businesses. Look, please talk to your peers, build collaborative relationships, tender for big contracts, but sit back and look and see a few years ahead and see where you want your business to be, because the strategic landscape is changing all the time. So that the kind of thing is what we're trying to instill in businesses.
I mean, and as is the skills landscape is changing all the time as well. Do you think people out there, companies and potential candidates, are aware of the massive array of different kind of apprenticeships that are available? Do you think people know what they can be an apprentice in?
I don't think so, to be honest. I think that, we talk to some learners when we're trying to get them matched up for interviews. And there are some learners out there that are applying for, typically, we've spoken to some that have applied for over 200 jobs. And, probably at least 50 different apprenticeship programs. But they're all pretty much the same thing, or they're not promoting themselves in a way that they are differentiating themselves enough to show. It's not just maybe a business admin course. The big thing that we need to look at here is what are the individual needs of that business, and then shaping the qualifications around that. And the big thing now with the trailblazers that the government are working on is this, okay, let's reassess the apprenticeships. They're all going through this reassessment at the moment and hanging back and saying, okay, well, has that qualification there, the needs now change of these businesses, and is that qualification perhaps outdated? Do we need to maybe adapt that and bring in new elements and new skill sets to accommodate what these businesses need moving forward?
So if you were to wave my fictitious magic wand and make one thing happen perhaps to make your life easier to achieve what you're trying to achieve, what would it be?
I think it's trying to, the learners for us just want an opportunity. And one of the things, we've had some businesses here that have really embraced the program and said, yes, I realise what I've got to do and I will take this individual on. We've had a lot of other businesses that sign up to programs and then they'll put every possible barrier in the way to say, oh, well, that person's maybe too young or too old. And what we're trying to get out to these guys is, look, just give them the opportunity, and then, you know, you're not committing to them. People can do traineeships these days. You just need to give these youngsters an opportunity, because they will prove to you how much of an asset they could be to your business.
And one of the words you've used, you know, more than one occasion, is this idea of businesses promoting what they do as well. And of course, another thing that's in the news right at the moment is the Black Country Business Awards. So we ought to give that a bit of a plug, haven't we, right here now? Because that's a fantastic showcase for the cream of the region, isn't it?
It's exactly that. What we are really proud of is our heritage, and every year we find the best businesses that are around. They make a case and explain what they're really good at, and then we have a competition, and then we announce the winner at our dinner in November. And you know, we have some companies around here that are global in terms of what they're capable of doing. Some take on extraordinary numbers of apprentices, some do extraordinary things in the community, some people are producing parts that are just, you know, the things that you would imagine, you know, Silicon Valley get involved in. There's one company, for example, that I understand a supplier came to with a problem over a part that the Chinese supplier had screwed up, and they thought it would take, the customer thought it would take 3 months for these parts. This Black Country business turned it around in 4 days. That's the kind of company we have here, and that's the kind of company we need to be proud of, and that's the kind of company we'll be showing off at our dinner.
And what stage are the awards at now? Is it, have entries closed? Are you judging? Or is
entries are closed, we've judged, we've got the long list, and now to
So you know who's won then, do you?
No, don't tell me. I know who have got through to the next round, but now the real intensive stuff happens, and then we'll come up with the winners. But no one will know, apart from the select few, until the night.
So it's an Oscars style
it's better than the
tie
Oscars.
ceremony, and
Ninda's going to be there saying stuff, so it's bound to be better than the Oscars.
Excellent. The music doesn't start to pull you off the stage when you've been talking for too long.
No, Ninda knows how to control that.
Excellent stuff. What about this area as a region to do business in? I mean, is this Skillwise particularly something that you're looking at in the West Midlands at the moment, or are you replicating it in other parts of the country?
It's being replicated all across the country. We've got businesses all the way up on the Scottish border, right the way down to Penzance. But surprisingly enough, we've actually had the biggest take-up from the West Midlands. That might be because, you know, the Entrepreneur Circle has a strong presence in the West Midlands. But, you know, there are a lot of businesses that are embracing this and realising, you know, we need to do something together. And it comes back to the points you both made earlier about if businesses are starting to realise that, you know, there are so much competition out there, they do need to be able to promote themselves and show, you know, potential customers why they are so different.
Carl, I'm just to say about one company, you mentioned social media. I mean, a lot of businesses discard that and think it's Twitter or something, it's rubbish. I know one company I was talking to today, they made £1 million worth of sales through LinkedIn. So if you don't understand it, find a young person.
You're missing a trick.
Exactly.
Massively.
I love when we finish the programme on a high. Thank you, gents, both so much. That's all I'm afraid we've got time for this week, but a big thanks to Banu and Nick, and also to John Simcock, who joined us earlier. Don't forget, the Big Centre News team are with you every weekday, bringing you the latest headlines from across the Birmingham and Black Country area, and we'll be back next Friday to chew over some more of the headlines. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon.